Gio. Gio, look. Hold on, chat. Lock in for me. Actually, let's move it. Oh, Jesus, that's probably good, right? Would you settle down? Fudge, fudging heck, dude. Fudging. What, you want ball? Look at this evil within. Evil Within 2 for the PS4. Look at him. Jesus. Who are you? Get out of here, you freak. Thanks a lot, Gio. Cover me in your frickin'... Really? You're just gonna knock the camera down? What if I just knocked your life and ruined your life? Would you like that? Huh? Would you like that? Would you like that? This is yours. And I know you want it, but you can't have it. Uh-oh. Gone forever. I love my baby Gio. Salutations, my Lizalfos family squad. Welcome back to another video. Today's video is not unlike the last video I made regarding Marvel Rivals, specifically Blokees. We're mainly talking about Blokees. There's no news on the Hasbro front, unfortunately, but yeah, we're kind of following up with the Blokees stuff because when I made that video, it was actually so early in all of this that like 2 pictures of Venom and Spidey came out, and that was basically all I was basing that entire video off of, which is crazy because it's like a 40-minute long video, and I had nothing to go off of, which is just awesome. You can tell how excited I was and how naive I was as to what is coming in the future. But first, let me set down my cup of joe, but not before grabbing another sip. So as I mentioned before, this is a direct follow-up to that Marvel Rivals video that we did I think it was 2 months ago. So if you haven't seen that, I'm going to be addressing some of the things that I said in that video that makes it sound like it's a controversial thing. No, I'm just literally bringing up some of the things that I mentioned before, as well as kind of filling in the space of what we know about the Blokees rival line up until this point. Like, we have gotten so many updates regarding characters and like pricing and stuff. Well, not officially, but we have a more concrete idea of things than we did last time. Last time I was like, we don't know the scale, we don't know what characters they're gonna make. I did a whole top 10 list of characters I want, and I also did an entire overly long what characters I think they're gonna add to the Rivals line. I'm pretty sure they're gonna add Captain America and Hulk. Now, I have done some shorts and they have done surprisingly well. So if you are coming from one of those shorts, or if you've at least seen the shorts, I very much appreciate it. Those shorts did surprisingly well. Look, I know shorts do better than YouTube videos, that's why. But even the original video got like 200 something views, which is more than my average video gets. So there clearly was a little bit more interest there. So yeah, this is just kind of a general follow-up. So I guess the first thing on the docket would be to discuss the whole shebang of scale and whatnot. So I said, these are probably 1/12 scale, blah, 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 these are probably 1/12 scale, without doing really any research. I mean, I was like, I barely know anything about Blokees. They do Transformers stuff, they do Pokemon stuff. That's basically all I knew about them. Like, I'm gonna be honest, my knowledge of Blokees hasn't really risen that high since I last talked about them, but I will say I'm a lot more knowledgeable on Blokees now than I was before, and I still barely know anything about them. But what I can tell you is this: these figures, most of these figures are going to be champion class figures. Now, don't get confused. They use weird language and stuff like that because it's their own toy company, so they can do whatever the hell they want. Champion class is a model kit that, generally speaking, is a lot simpler. And that's one thing. I don't know if I really emphasize the fact that these are model kits. The Blokees figures are not action figures. They are model kits. They are things that you put together and assemble. And when you look at Blokees as a whole, they generally have a much more fun charm about them. Recently they put out a Deadpool and Wolverine from Deadpool and Wolverine. Like I mentioned before, they do MCU stuff and they do Marvel stuff. They have done stuff like that. They also put out a David Cornsweet Superman, and while that Superman isn't like a good, realistic, great looking version of Superman from the movie, it is still a fun looking action figure. It has good articulation. And that's the thing, these are model kits, but they're also action figures. But they're not like premium action figures, you know? They're like more like on the fun side of things. I'll be bringing this point back up later because this is more relevant to a later conversation. But yeah, in general, that's sort of their thing. Champion class means about 1/12 as it gets. It's not quite 6 inches. It's not quite 6.5 inches. As far as I can tell, it seems to be more in like the 5-inch range, closer to true 1/12 scale, which is like closer to Star Wars Black Series if you collect those, or Figma is another good example. They are closer to true 1/12 scale. I prefer 6.5-inch scale for Marvel Legends. It's just generally my wheelhouse. I just like how they look a lot better. And they're superheroes, so they naturally are bigger characters anyways. I don't want my superhero to be the same size as an average person, for the most part, unless they're supposed to be. But that's me, right? So yeah, these will run on the smaller side. These will not be tall. These are not going to fit in with your Marvel Legends necessarily, which is disappointing. That is a disappointing aspect of this, but there's more layers to that, and so yeah, these aren't quite Legend scale. They run a little bit smaller, so just to clear up what that means. Now, Blokees does have other scales that we're, again, going to bring back up later in the video, but yeah, there's other scales like Galaxy scale. I believe it's Galaxy scale. They're quite small, and then I think they have something called like Legend scale, which is larger, and the complexity of the model kit gets different. It's like Galaxy scale is kind of like you're putting together like a minifigure or something like that. The Champion class seems more like it's, sorry, I was saying Galaxy scale. Galaxy class is what I meant to say. But Champion class seems like it's more like you're putting together a Bionicle. You know, there's a good amount of pieces, but it's not as involved as, you know, an actual Lego set. And then the Legends class do seem a lot more actual model kit-y from my experience. Robo did a really good review of a Soundwave that was a Legend class figure. And he had tons of, it was like a straight up model kit experience. You have to put every single piece together. So yeah, just to clear up any confusion about that, these are gonna run small, and are smaller than Marvel Legends, smaller than 1/12. I mean, they are 1/12, but it's 1/12, you know? There's kind of a vagueness, a gray area there. So yeah, that's kind of enough yapping about all that. That was all just kind of a preamble, but let's get into the actual figures themselves and just kind of talk about where we have been going with the Blokees line in general. All right, let's just go through everything that we basically know about the Rivals Blokees line up until this point. So, first of all, they showed off Spidey and Venom. That was really cool. And then, eventually there was another show where they did show that they were going to do a Spider, and which, by the way, I kept saying SPDR in the original video. Penny just calls it Spider, so I sound like an idiot. But I always thought it was SPDR for some. That might be from Into the Spider-Verse. I don't actually know. I always assumed it was SPDR because of how it's spelled. And Penny, I guess that was kind of weird. It's a statue, which I don't know why this is a thing, because in case you don't know, Sentinel also has a Spider and Penny, but Penny's a statue. So I don't really understand why companies seem to hate Penny so much. She just cannot. Now, I already mentioned in my original video that I didn't really care if Penny got a figure because I don't love her design. So it's not the biggest loss, but it is still a very strange decision. I'm wondering if this is for multiple different reasons or if there genuinely is just some weird penny beef in the toy community. Like, I don't know why. And she's also small. She's a lot smaller than I expected because this is a champion class figure. You can see her next to Venom and Spider-Man. Obviously, the mech is gonna run a little bit small. We already kind of knew this with Venom. They are bigger than Spider-Man, which is good, but not by a lot because they are still champion class figures. They fall under that same class and are going to be the same size. Now at this very same show, they also showed that there was going to be a Rocket Raccoon, and I was really excited. I went, oh man. That was when I remember I was talking about Rocket specifically in my video, and I was like, oh, you could do this, and I was like, hell yeah, once I saw him. But there was no comparison photo with Rocket at the time. So when I made that original short, I went, oh man, I want to see what he looks like next to the other characters. And then either that night or like the next day, we very quickly found out that Rocket's a frickin' big boy. Yeah, this is Rocket and Penny next to each other, or Spider next to each other. This is crazy. This is absolutely wild. Now, I have some defenses, but at the same time, it is very disappointing because the whole appeal of Rocket in this game especially, you want to have him up on people, you want to have him kind of like posed next to Groot, like, we're going to get a Groot from this line, and he's going to be like the same size as Spider. You're not going to be able to put Groot or Rocket up on his shoulder. It's going to look weird, man. Again, this is because Rocket is a champion class figure. They're not scaling the line as if they were like, so like Marvel Legends, when you get a Rocket Raccoon, he's tiny, you know, he's a little guy, because they're scaling it with the line. They're not scaling it with the scale of every other figure. That is crazy. But some toy companies do that, and it drives me kind of insane. Blokees is no exception. Blokees is an exception because these are model kits, so I understand that making a tiny little baby model kit Rocket would have been very difficult. You do have a workaround to this. I do think Blokees should attempt to do a Galaxy class line of figures, and even if that means throwing out like a tiny little Squirrel Girl or a tiny little Jeff or whatever, I don't really mind. But I would like to see some attempt at a smaller Rocket. Now, to be fair, this figure does look so good anyways that it almost doesn't matter to me. Like, I'm looking at this figure and just going like, man, that is gorgeous. Like, look at his face and the gun and all the little details on him. Oh man, yeah, I was sold. I mean, Spider, by the way, was number 10 on like my top 10 list, so it was high up there. Rocket wasn't actually on my list, but I think I'm more excited for Rocket, even though he is big. That's the biggest problem. He's completely out of scale. But again, and we're gonna kind of talk about this, I think this was the ultimate argument I had to make. I did lose a lot. I get kind of a sucker punch of emotions when this kind of reveal happened, because I was like, oh man, these aren't gonna look really good with each other. I mean, they're gonna look good, but they're not going to like, you can't put them in like a photo together and have it look natural, you know? This isn't a practical display. This is, well, maybe it is a practical display. It's not a ideal display. Ideally, me personally, I would want all these figures together in the sizes that they're supposed to be, right? That's me personally, but again, I understand that not everyone cares about that. And it is something that I'm kind of having to just like push down, because I still love these figures a lot based on how they look, and I think this line is going to be something special, the articulation, everything like that. And I just love Rivals so much. I just love the game, and I love the character designs and stuff, that I'm almost okay if they're not in scale. I am yapping a lot about this one figure in particular, but this was the turning point for a lot of people, I noticed. If people were interested in this line, seeing Rocket kind of made the interest go down, because they're like, oh, I can't use these as like good 112 figures. If anything, you're gonna have to wait for the Legends to see if they do that. But again, you're not gonna get as good of a figure with Legends Rocket. I guarantee, if there's a world we live in where Legends Rocket Rivals is better than the Blokees one, we live in hell, because there's no way that's real. There's no way that ends up happening. The Rocket thing did bring me down a little bit, realizing that, oh, these aren't really going to be exactly what I wanted, but I was ultimately like, okay, I'm still excited to see these. I want to see what Venom and Spidey look like when they're all painted up with color and all that good stuff. I wanted to see that. I wanted info and I wanted more solicitation photos. I wanted everything. I want them. There was an announcement for an event called Wonderfest 2025 Shanghai, I believe it was. And this was going to be a very big deal because a lot of toy companies like dropped your ball. A lot of toy companies like Blokees and a ton of third-party companies and other Chinese companies all were making action figures. And this Shanghai event was a big deal. I mean, this really had so much going on. There was so much there. There was so much. In fact, you can check out the podcast episode where we talk about. We actually just recorded the podcast episode yesterday where we talk about all this stuff, and it was extensive and just crazy. So yeah, Wonderfest was insane. But there were some teases for Wonderfest, specifically from companies like Blokees and other companies. Are you done? Nope, still going. Blokees themselves weren't shy of doing teases. They teased things like these random DC figures that nobody cares about. They teased other things like Star Wars. I don't know. They teased a whole bunch of shit. But you know where my mind lies. I mean, you're watching the video after all. They dropped this teaser. And I might have shat myself, to be honest. I was working that day, and we were like busy, and I remember checking my phone at one point, and like my heart like skipped a beat, which sounds stupid, but like, dude, oh. If you don't remember, Ultron was number 9 on my top 10 list. So they're taking things down a little bit. But not only is this the coolest reveal picture or tease picture ever, because it's just bro's just aura farming. He's just aura farming. He's got a throne, but a little details stick out to me, and it's something that we've already talked about in this video. That's right. Legends class. Now, at the time, I didn't know what that meant. I had no idea. So I asked my buddy Rangus, who is much more familiar with the Blokees front than I am, and it was like, yeah, it means it's going to be a larger scale figure, which potentially means Ultron is going to be actually 1/12 scale. Do you mind? Do you mind? So yes, Ultron is going to be better scaled. So if you're looking for a figure to scale with your collection a lot better, Ultron's the way to go. This is, as I mentioned, probably going to be a little bit more of an involved model kit, but the cool thing is, lights and sounds may be an option. I don't need lights and sounds, but if it's cheap, if it doesn't really affect the price too much, if it's, you know, relatively affordable, that's still cool. I'm down with that. Actually, I'm more worried about it affecting articulation. Like I mentioned before, the only Legends class figure I knew about was the Soundwave, and that's a cool figure, but it's also Transformers. It's also really blocky, and I mean, see what I mean? So I don't know. This is exciting. This is really, really exciting. I didn't expect them to show anything else at Wonderfest. Maybe a tease for another character, but that was it. Other than that, I was like, we're probably not going to get too much. I can't wait to see a bunch of photos of Ultron, maybe see him all posed up, and I was like, oh, dude, I was so excited. That tease happened on a Saturday. The actual pictures of Ultron came out on Wednesday. So Wonderfest rolls around, and I already have to like make sure I get as many photos of toys as possible for the podcast. But I'm also waiting eagerly for the Ultron photos, because I'm like, okay, Blokees, where are you at? What you gonna do? I want to see Ultron. I want to see your booth. Little did I know that their booth would actually be filled with, oh my God, Jesus Christ. So this was their booth. And oh man, it's gorgeous. You see all the figures there. Now, there's a few things here. I guess let's just start from the top, because I think it makes the most amount of sense, and with the flow of this video, it's already super inconsistent, but yeah. Spider-Man and Venom in painted form. Not paint, I should say. That's another thing I think I mentioned earlier. These figures aren't painted because they are model kits. It's plastic. That's the really important thing about these. So when you look at a Blokees figure, you might go like, oh, those don't look amazing. They look really cheap. And that's because it's just plastic. Because again, most of the time model kits don't have painted parts. I've seen some concerns for these figures already because of the shininess and because of the plasticness, and I do understand where people are coming from. And in some ways, it does kind of affect the look. Like, for instance, Venom is much more, now, if this was a normal comic book Venom, I'd be like, oh, hell yeah, you know, because he's like black and oily. That sounds bad, but you know, Venom, he's the color black, and he's usually shiny and oily because he's Venom. He's made of goop, right? But in Rivals, he doesn't really look like that. I mean, he's still kind of shiny and goopy, but he's a little bit gray, if anything. Like, it's much more matte black than it is like a straight up glossy black in the game. So I think that was one of my main issues was, oh, he looks a little bit like probably too shiny and the color doesn't seem right. But they're not wrong for doing this. I mean, this is very much what Venom looks like a lot of the time, so I totally get it. But at the same time, you know, personal preference, I wish the colors were a little bit different. Also, that tongue being like bright red, it kind of sticks out. I get it. I understand. These are not high-end, crazy $400 collectibles that are hand painted by a little guy with a big eyeball looking down going, it's not like that. These are toys. They're made for children, and there's just a little bit more love put in them than an average like US toy. Like in the States, these things would have like 2 points of articulation. They'd be like this tall, and they'd cost like $3. No, they'd cost like $10 actually, because the economy sucks. Spider-Man does look good. Again, there's a shininess to them. I'm probably gonna try to see if I can put a dull coat on these, although the only problem with dull coat is it kind of goes away the moment you start moving them again. And I'm gonna wanna move with these figures. I'm gonna wanna play with them, so that's the one big bummer of like, oh man, they can't go this far, they can't do this, and yada, 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 yada. So they look great, obviously. There is a bit of hesitance and there is a bit of cheapness, a little bit more than I think I personally would have liked, but it's something I should have expected. It's something I should have been ready for. And I think because I got their Superman, I was a little, I mean, I don't have him yet, but based on like photos and stuff like that, I was more warmed up to the idea than I think I would have been had I not had prepared myself for that. But like I said, these are model kits. They are kind of meant to be painted if you want to. Just note that if you paint them, you're probably gonna lose some articulation. That's very standard. That's usually how it goes. Obviously, we got another look at Spider and Penny. Penny still looking like a tiny little statue. And Rocket looks just, I mean, Rocket looks amazing, right? I don't think he looks like a bad figure at all. It really is just the scale that's messing with everything. But let's talk about the main man himself. Let's talk about Ultron. Now, I was really hoping we'd see other poses for him. And as far as I know, they just really wanted to keep him in his throne. I was really hoping there would be like an entire section where we'd see multiple Ultrons posed up. Like, they do that sometimes with toy companies where they will have like one figure in a bunch of different poses just to show what he can do, especially when it's this big Legends class deal. I was expecting to see a little bit more. But there is this render that was floating around of him in an actual pose, and because I was also worried for a second that this was a statue, had they had done that, I would have freaking killed somebody. Oh my god. By the way, Ultron's priorities shot way up. I think instead of being like number 9 on my top 10 list, he'd probably be like number 5 or something. So the fact that we're getting him is such a big, it's so awesome. Again, he looks freaking amazing. And I am so excited to get my hands on him because he's going to be so fun and he's going to be bigger and he's going to fit in with other things, and yeah. So I'm actually quite surprised that Spider didn't end up being a Legends class, because you'd think lights and sounds, you know, a bigger figure, you could do more with that. So I actually am very much surprised that they didn't go that direction, because Ultron makes sense, but if you were to be like, oh, there's going to be a character that gets all this crazy stuff, again, I feels like Spider would fit that bill a little bit better. I do have predictions now, of course I do. I have a feeling Iron Man could end up being a Legends class figure too, just because they can give him all the lights and sound. They give him the big light up chest or whatever. They can make him truer to 1/12 scale. He could be like a full on model kit. That's a prediction. I still think Iron Man is coming. I'm still dead set on that prediction. I just don't know if he'll be a champion class figure. I think they would want to do him as a champion class, but I also have a feeling Blokees would just be like, look, he's cool and he can light up and he can do all this crazy stuff and he's bigger, and I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm way off base, but I just figured I'd throw that out there. So yeah, Ultron looks really, really good. I cannot get over how good he looks. Like, Ty has already, or Kasai, has already basically been like, I'm not getting any of these. These aren't really my thing. They're too small. I'm gonna stick to my guns. Even if they made Magic or Black Widow, who are his favorite characters in the game, he wouldn't buy them because he just doesn't like the scale. And hey, I respect that. He's not a slave to the Blokees system like me. Like, I am basically locked in, whether I like it or not. I'm gonna get as many as possible. I might even get duplicates just to try to see if I can like paint some or something. I don't know. Probably not. I'll probably get just the figures that they released, the base figures. But that wasn't enough for Blokees. No, they had to go ahead and they had to do more. They had to give us more. Again, maybe I expected one other figure. I wasn't really expecting them to do what they ended up doing, which was Jeff. Okay, now that's not true. I did predict that Blokees was gonna do Jeff. Makes sense. It totally fits their wheelhouse. I just wasn't expecting to see him so soon in the line, especially because now, I mean, we've got Spider-Man, Venom, Spider, Rocket, Ultron, Jeff. That's 6 figures. This is a very robust line already. This is more than some companies would start off with. Some companies would just throw out like 2 figures and then eventually get around to doing more, and then eventually, but this is awesome. Jeff looks great. He's large too, but I will say, I have this photo here that I've been holding off using just for now. This is the in-game models that have been changed just so they fit better together in a game, is sort of the idea. And I like that. I like that scale too. A lot because it's fun. And Jeff in the game is giant. He's very large. He is not the traditional little tiny Jeff that gets picked up and held. He's quite large. He's a formidable foe. In fact, the Shalom Jeff that Ty, or Chalom, however the hell you say it, the third-party Jeff that Ty actually gave me is much closer to canon Jeff scale, but I do like giant Jeff. So he's gonna fit right in with the display. Like, this is a character that objectively you'd think wouldn't work, but because he's so damn big in the game, he'll be just fine. He'll be fine, honestly. You don't get much of a taste of what his articulation is. You see little bits here and there. It's kind of vague, and we don't really have a full sense for it yet. It's really hard to get Jeff in like a crazy like action pose too. Maybe not. Maybe they'll do pre-order pictures and the Jeff will have insane range of motion, but whatever. Also does appear there might be a variant, or maybe this is an alternate torso or something, because he's got like the cute like costume look as well, which that's awesome. Like, that's not something I was expecting. That was completely out of my radar. So thank you, Blokees, for doing that. That is such a specific thing that I don't think any other company is going to get around to anytime soon. Again, I predicted Jeff was going to be here, so I'm not that surprised about it. What I am surprised about, and a character that completely passed me by, was Moon Knight. Moon Knight completely threw a loop in everything, because I went, yeah, I guess Moon Knight is pretty popular. I didn't really think, I think I mentioned it in my video, but I didn't really elaborate. Like, I was like, yeah, he's kind of cool and he's funny, but I guess I didn't really expect it. Hell yeah, he looks great. He looks really, really cool, man. Oh God, he's gonna be so much fun to pose. By the way, one of my biggest concerns in my original video, especially when I was going through my top 10 list, was characters having capes and wired capes. I made this whole big deal about wired capes and how I don't want them to do plastic, I don't want them to do whatever. Their Superman and their other figures have had wired soft goods cape. They're not the highest quality as far as I understand. They don't put crazy wires in them or anything. It's a very cheap wire and very thin wire. But honestly, it is better than nothing. And I would prefer that it's wired and soft goods than it being plastic any day of the week. So yeah, Moon Knight's cape looks so good. It is a little weird how the neck is plastic, but I understand some Batman figures do that where they want to have a very specific shape for it that you can't necessarily get with the wire material, so I understand. It is just an interesting thing to see, but oh man, dude, Moon Knight was not on my radar at all, but I'm very glad they're doing it. And also, I will mention too, that if the Hasbro leaks are legit, like we are to assume they are, that means that the only characters exclusive to Marvel Legends right now would be Punisher and Luna. That's it. So we went from going, oh, Blokees is doing different characters to, oh, Blokees is doing basically everyone except for Luna. Still no Luna Snow announcement is crazy. I actually expected that announcement to have happened by now. But, I don't know, maybe they're not doing it. I mean, they haven't done any of the girls yet, aside from Penny, but she's a statue. So, I don't know. Are they going to do girls? That's one thing. But that does lead very nicely into my next little tangent here that I want to go off. And get ready, guys. We're going a little conspiracy mode, so strap the F in. I'm gonna need more Joe for this one. Also, I apologize if you hear this ugly ass sound the entire time. Joe's just gnawing on one of his toys, and it sounds like hell. And I don't want to take it from him because that'd be so mean. And he's rambunctious enough as is, so he needs a good chew. But like, bye-bye. I threw it away from him. What is this whole conspiracy theory I'm talking about here? So, during Wonderfest, it was a whole crazy thing, because obviously the time difference and me trying to track down different toys and trying to see if we can get different POVs of people looking at the Blokees stuff. It was a lot. Blokees themselves didn't really post that much during the show. They did post twice. They did post a picture of Ultron when he was revealed, just kind of sitting down in his throne. Like, okay, I wanted to see the group shot of everything, but they did not post that. What they did until later, I will mention, the final day of the show, I believe it was the final day. The final day of the show, they did post the final group shot of all the characters. It was a nice straight-on shot. I'll put it up on camera here. And that's when I noticed something interesting, and this was kind of a roller coaster of emotions going through this, but there was this extra plaque on the bottom there, and I just assumed it said something like Marvel Rivals. Obviously, I can't read it, so I wasn't gonna sit there and be like, let's try to figure out what that said. Like, I didn't even clue into the fact that it could have been another character. However, in Blokees' post, when they posted this, they write the list of characters. They basically go like, with Venom, Spider-Man, Spider, Jeff, Rocket, Moon Knight, and then there's one extra character that isn't in the photo for a very obvious reason. That being Invisible Woman. Now, this is either a haha funny, there's no one there, haha, it's a silly, get it? Dude, we have brought the Invisible Woman figure. Look at her. She's so good. She poses so well. She's in a great pose. Which is probably what it is, right? Okay, everything you're about to hear is me going in crazy denial theory mode. Or this is a genuine tease for a future Invisible Woman. Which would be one of the next figures revealed. I don't know if again, probably not. This is probably a joke, right? And it's very funny. Haha, I get it. She's invisible. I freaking get it. But if you don't remember, Sue is my #1 most wanted figure in the entire Marvel Rivals game, still. And I know she's a very generic, boring, white blonde woman with a boring costume, but she's my Lord character, dude. I need some reps. And she's hot. I'm really hoping this does lead to something and that she is one of the next characters, and also, it's not out of the realm of possibility because we're getting a figure for Ultron. He's a season 2.5 character. He's way off in the distance, you know? So it's not like they were trying to finish the original roster first. because they wouldn't have done and gone ahead and made Ultron. Again, Ultron fits Blokees' MO a little bit more, but and the more as this line goes on, I do get worried that we're not going to see as many ladies, which that sounds like such a, like, I sound like an asshole for saying that. Like, I sound like a creep. Like, we're not going to get the girls. But, like, I am a little worried that they're not going to tackle them. Maybe they're worried that they wouldn't sell, or maybe they're worried that, like, I don't know. You make Sue? My heart is yours. You know, I already said they had me by the balls and that they weren't letting go. That has not changed. They haven't let go. The balls hurt more than ever because of the pain of waiting. I don't really have anywhere to take this. I really hope that they are actually considering making Sue. And again, it's probably just a haha funny joke. But if there's even a sliver of a chance that that was a genuine tease, you freaks are freaking clever. You freaks are ooh, I have some choice words with y'all. Again, we're probably not getting her, but can you imagine if that was the, but if we are, I'm gonna say I told you so. Your boy was told you so. He's been here since the beginning. So, vetting for the Sue Storm figure of all characters. I will also say, very quick aside, earlier, at some point, this picture came up across my feed on Instagram, and I was wondering, I went, oh shit, somebody's making a Rivals-style Daredevil. It's third party, so it's not officially licensed, but I was still really, really excited. Now, this was at a point where Daredevil wasn't even in the game. He's still not in the game, technically, yet. But, so there wasn't a lot of, like, looks of him aside from, like, the trailer. We'd seen what his design looks like and everything with the glowing horns and the sort of more Chinese-inspired armor. But, interestingly enough, that's not this design. Because this is what Daredevil looks like in Rivals. You know, this is what he looks like. This is actually based off of fan art. So either this is the funniest misunderstanding of all time, and they just saw this this fake render and was like, oh, that's what he looks like, let's make a figure of him. Or the more likely scenario is they went, hey, that looks pretty cool, let's make a figure of that. They probably just like this look more than the official game one. Or, you know, action figures take a long time to make, and that art has been around a lot longer than Daredevil's announcement in Rival. Yeah, they actually did show him at the show. This is what he looks like. Just incredible. I do think I like this design more than the actual Rivals design. I don't hate Rivals Daredevil like Ty. He friggin' despises Daredevil in this game, even though he's exactly what I wanted him to be. I also don't have a super deep attachment to Daredevil as a character, so maybe that's why. But I think I love him in the game. But again, I think this outfit, this look, that this figure is going for, is just cooler. Just looks so much cooler. I want to see the Daredevil with the beard and the long hair. I want to see that look on this figure. I kind of want to see if I can get that Legends head, see if it'll scale well with this, because this, no blocky shenanigan here, this should be true 1/12 scale. So there's not true 1/12, but this should be closer to Legends. This should be closer on the larger side. So yeah, and I am already also working on Rivals Customs as well. And I'm not going to stop working on those. Those are just an addition to my Rivals whole display and stuff like that. Obviously, I've got the third-party Jeff. I'm working on a Malice custom, as previously mentioned and talked about before. And I also have a Psylocke custom in the works and a Bucky custom that I'm trying to piece together right now. So, and then maybe a Phoenix Force Emma. I got a whole bunch of shit going on in my brain. But yeah, the Rivals figures are coming together, and I'm going to make as many customs and just keep on working on projects because I care about this game that much, and I want as much representation on the shelf as possible, even if it's different sizes or different scales or model kits or whatever. Future editor Renzolian here. I recorded this a while ago. I think it was like right after Wonderfest, so everything was still up in the air. This Daredevil figure from Zoomrig or Zoomring, whatever the company's called, it's a third-party company, might not end up happening. There's a little bit of question as it's up in the air
whether or not they'll be able to release this or not. It's just kind of legally a little bit weird, especially since this is based on fan art, and I did hear that the artist did end up finding out about this. I don't know how true that is, but yeah, it's a little bit unsure as to the fate of this Daredevil. I really want the figure still, so I hope it doesn't get canceled, but in case it doesn't happen, yeah, that would really, really suck.
Okay, I've been yapping long enough. Thank you very much for listening to me talk about Rivals for way too goddamn long. I stream it sometimes on my gaming channel. I talk about it sometimes on my podcast, All Things Geek, if you want to check it out. I'm going to probably make another video like this if we get a significant amount of reveals. I figured the time was long enough that I should make another video, specifically because I had only talked about Spider-Man and Venom in that original video, and then the shorts only covered Penny and Rocket and then Ultron. I never even made a follow-up short talking about everything else. I do plan on reviewing these things when they come out. I don't know if it'll be like the traditional like toy review where they're a lot more like skit-like, or if I'll do something different. We'll see what ends up happening there. They might be closer to like the custom reviews or something, like more traditional action figure reviews, just because I care about them and I kind of just want to get those things out when they show up. Again, if I'm hoping we get Spidey and Venom this year, it's a bit of a long shot, but come on, guys, come on, you gotta give us. You gotta do it, man. You gotta do it. I feel like we're right there. I feel like we're almost there. I feel like any one of these days now they're gonna announce that order, and I'm just gonna go, yep, put them in my cart, yep. I apologize for lack of content lately. Truly, I feel like I say this all the time, but like I've just been taking a lot of time for myself. Like genuinely, I've been focusing a lot more on like my personal interests and stuff like that. I haven't been thinking about videos very much. So that's kind of the main reason why you haven't been seeing stuff. And I do apologize for that, but also at the same time, I don't know. Right now, videos just aren't a priority of mine. I'm just kind of focusing on being me. But when something like this happens, where it's something I really do care about and something I really want to talk about, I figure like it's worth making a video. Who knows? If you're one of the crazy people who actually listen to this entire thing, thank you. I love you. Love you to death. Anywho, Lizolfo Squad, or whatever the hell I called you guys earlier. Thank your sweet hairy tushes for watching. I will be seeing you potentially later in another video, or on the podcast, or maybe on my gaming channel. You want to say goodbye? This is the look of a guilty man. This is what he's been doing all freaking recording. Look at him. Look at him. He's chewing on his dingling. 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 All right. I'm not gonna bother him no more.